Good afternoon, everyone. Let me take this opportunity, first of all, just to welcome each and every one of you to this, our monthly Men's Society Men's Meeting for the month of September. And I also want to take this opportunity to publicly thank Pastor Hinsey and the men's ministry here for hosting us this time around and for ensuring that all that we need is in place to make this meeting a success. Just before we begin, I just want to take care of one or two housekeeping matters, particularly for those who may not be familiar with the area in the back here. At the very back, in case you need to use the restroom, when you go through the double door in the back, the restroom for men is at the left. Also, as you would have figured out or guessed by now, we are live streaming tonight. So hopefully one or two persons will be joining us remotely from the Family Islands. So having said all of that, with respect to the agenda, you should have an e-copy of the agenda. I placed it in the Society Men's chat today for those whose numbers are in the chat. For those whose numbers are not in the chat, I would need your consent or approval to add your name, so whenever we send out any kind of invite or notification, you will receive it as well. So all of those who would have signed the register tonight, I just want to say to you, if you have any objection to me adding your name to the Society Men's group chat, then let me know. Otherwise, all those who have signed and placed their number there, whose numbers are not already in the chat, I will do so. So, having said that, at this time, let us begin our meeting this evening. And the Men's Ministry of Golden Gates is responsible for the devotional period. And I have been advised that Brother Leroy Sanders will do our opening prayer, and that will be followed by a brief devotional message by Brother Wayne Rogers. So at this time, we will have Brother Leroy Sanders to give us our opening prayer.
Good evening, everyone. We all start. Most of the Father, we come before you this evening now. I pray for all these men that are here. I pray for those that will be on their way and picking their steps. I pray for our President, Reverend Johnson. I pray for the Vice President. I pray for those that want to be here but not cannot be here. Our Lord, we will discuss matters related to the man of the society. I pray, Lord, to give us understanding, Lord, and we learn more about you and about our society. I pray, Lord, that men will come together more often, Lord, to develop us, for our families, for our society, for our country, and the world as a whole. Our Lord, I pray that the honor and glory of our discussion this evening, Lord. We learn more about you, Lord. Lord, and men are finished gathering down on earth. Take us to our art and glory. Everything further study around your throne. Learn more about you, Lord. For it is in your name I pray. Everybody say,
Amen. Amen. Okay, thank you very much. You may be seated. Thank you, Brother Sanders, for the opening prayer. And at this time, we will have our devotional message by Brother Rogers.
Psalms 133, verse 1. Behold how good and pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity. Good night to all.
Good night.
The men's ministry in a church, whatever the ages may be, men must always learn to bear the burden of another man. Because there are some burdens that can only be understood from a male point of view. when you speak with another male, you could come to find out that they're having basically the same, I'd say, trials and tribulations that you're having. But if you don't speak, you bearing your burden alone, can't tell nobody about it, ain't saying nothing to nobody, your burden becomes much, much heavier. To tell your burden to a woman, they might have a suggestion, they might say something, but because they're female, they wouldn't know what it is to bear that burden. You have some men out there right now can't provide for their family, and they feel burdened. And we as men in the Bahamian society, we know, we look at it as saying that's the male job or the man's job to provide for him and his family. When you feel that burden on you, you can't go to a woman and say, "Oh man, I really need $10 to buy something for my kids." All right, that woman look at you differently. But you go to a male and you tell him that. Most males can understand that. So when we come together as a group, as a ministry and all, if each one of us, if you come here and you say that, before we could take funny of you, if each one of us take $1 or $2 and give you, that's just we understand where you're coming from. Because some of us go through the same thing. This is what it means to make men fellowship a vital part of a man's spiritual growth. As stated in Galatians 6:2, bear one another's burden, and so fulfill the laws of Christ. In 1 Timothy 2:18, when Paul was speaking to Timothy, he stated, I will therefore that men pray everywhere, lifting up holy hands, without wrath and doubting. Paul is advocating for men to pray, worship, and lead the church in peace. Also, in the same breath, he wants them to be an essential part to the mission of the church. Most churches in the Bahamas, not only St. John's Society, you go in the churches, there's always more women than men. Always. From the time I was growing up small, when you grow up, all you look around, you see women. In the choirs, women. In the prayer circle, women. All right, women were always out there, and the men always took a back step. But gentlemen, now is time, and in this day and time, is when men need to step forward. We'll see the change, if men step forward. I'm not only speaking about the church, in society, if men step forward, we'll see the change. It is very important for men of all ages to attend and participate in the men's ministry. We are called to make disciples, and men's ministry is an important part of accomplishing this mission. All right? When you come to men's ministry, you notice the key word there, participate. Don't just come, sit in the corner, say, anyhow, I go into men's ministry, I get in the meeting, I don't have nothing to say. Brothers, you have to have something to say. Speak to somebody. The brother in front here, you don't just want to say, oh, me and him, let's go to the same church. You meet him in the food store, you say, hey, bro, no. Speak to him, get to know one another. Don't just say, me and him, let's go to the same church. Get to know what the brother does for a living. That's what he does for a living, his occupation could be for the betterment of you. You could be out there looking for a plumber, up and down. But you have a brother right in your church who's one of the best plumbers in this country. But why you don't know that? Because you don't take the time to speak to him. So come out, participate, speak, say something. When men get together, see like us together right now, if we communicate, I'm sure we could find out something about something new that we might think we know them. I might say I know Brother Nabi. I do. But if we sit down and talk, I would get to know much more who Freddie Nabi is. All right? I would know who he is. If he come out to men's ministry, and we sit down and we talk, we open up to one another. Then I'd say, wow, boy, I didn't know that. I didn't even know Freddie worked there. I didn't even know Freddie used to do this. I didn't even know Freddie was a mechanic. Because why? Because I only see him in church on Sundays, dressed up in his suit and his fingernails clean, but I don't see him through the week. If I make it a point to say, let me just shoot down the million now, and he down in the car, and leave my mouth drop open. I say, wow, wouldn't believe that. Relationships take time, honesty, and patience. An effective men's ministry should have activities and settings that encourages bonding to take place. All right, have activities. Have activities where you just get to know one another. You'll find when you get to know one another more, you get more accomplished. If I don't know who he is, I ain't barely get nothing accomplished because I don't know where his head is. He don't know where my head is. So a simple operation that we might be trying to do, we wouldn't get it accomplished because I don't know where his head is. You don't know where my head is. We ain't communicating. Everybody just come in. The leader would sit up front, do all the talking. Any questions, any suggestions, anything? Everybody sit quiet. Nobody say nothing. At the end of the night, everybody jump in their car, go tell the next meeting. It don't work like that. Nothing would work if you do that. The key thing is communicating. All right? The setting doesn't always have to be in the church. Setting can be anywhere, to another brother's house, on a park, anywhere. It can be a place where all the brothers are comfortable. And during those same meetings, I can guarantee you, within those same meetings, like it says in Proverbs 27:17, iron will definitely sharpen iron during those conversations. It will happen. All you need is one particular conversation to start, break the ice, everybody get involved, and we would not merely leave from that setting and say, that's my brother in church. You leave from there and say, that's my friend in church. All right? When your wife's sitting on the side of you and church out, don't just jump up and shake hands with the brother on the way out and jump in the car and go. Get to know one another. You'll see how effective everything will be. All right? Any conversation you have with a brother, make it useful, make it worthwhile. Don't just say, me and him just go to Golden Gates, me and him just go to St. Margaret Road, me and him just go to St. John's. No, that's my brother in the church. I know it, that's brother so and so. You meet in the food store, you can't just say, that's the brother right there, I know his face. No, you don't want to know brother face, you want to know who that brother is. Communicate. And like I said, in closing out, once we do that, iron would make iron as sharp as it could be. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Brother Rogers, for such a thought-provoking devotional message. And one of the verses scripture quoted is that we ought to bear one another's burden and so fulfill the law of Christ. And he elaborated on that. And he also emphasized the importance of building relationships. And I said, wow, even though it's a devotional message, he has already gone into hitting and touching some points that I expect us to hit on tonight as we move into the next item on the agenda. So come on, let's give God a hand clap of praise for very thought-provoking and inspiring devotional message from Brother Rogers. And at this time, we're going to move into the next item on the agenda, which is a general discussion about how to improve our men's ministry. And I want us not only to think about it at a society level, but also at the unit church level. because my view is such that if we can improve our individual men's ministry at the unit churches, then that would trickle up to the society men's ministry, which this meeting is this evening, okay? So I just want to begin by saying that you all may be aware that our society men's ministry has been around now for just over 7 years, okay? Unlike some of your individual men's fellowship in our unit churches, which have been around much longer than that. And even like our women's ministry, or what they call the Women's Missionary Union, they have been around for quite a number of years. And I'm hoping at some point in the future that our men's ministry would be just as strong as our women's ministry. But it's going to take you and me. Our men's ministry, whether it's at the unit church level or at the society level, it's only going to be what we make it to be. It's going to take our commitment, our, pledging to do our part. Everyone needs to carry their weight. The old folks have a saying, much hands make work light. Well, obviously some of you don't know that, but that's an old saying. Much hand makes work light. So let us start tonight. What I want to do is I want to throw the question out to the floor, and in general, but particularly our men's presidents, their assistants, or men directors, as to how you think, from your vantage point, we can improve our men's ministry. And just to get you thinking, you can probably think of some of the challenges that we are facing as men and men's ministry, and how we can overcome those challenges. And in seeking to overcome those challenges, we would be improving our men's ministry. So at the end of the day, we would make a positive impact, not only among ourselves in terms of the relationship and camaraderie, but also we make a positive impact in this St. John society. Amen? And our men's ministry would be, hopefully by God's grace, the best men's ministry in this Commonwealth of the Bahamas. Now, I don't know if you agree with me on that, but with God, all things are possible. Amen? And this is where it starts. So, Brother Rogers, thank you again. You gave us a lot of food for thought. And if you want to piggyback on something Brother Rogers has said, by all means, go ahead. So, who is going to be the first one to speak? And we don't have to be shy. All of us know each other, only we know our faces. But as Brother Rogers said, we need to go beyond that if we want to improve our men's ministry. All right, I see a hand.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. I think all the churches in the society have.
I'm not familiar with who you are. Who are you?
Okay, I'm Reverend Dawson in Margaret Road. I think all the churches in the society have the basic problem of participation of the men. In our church, on any given Sunday, probably me, Pastor Johnson, and a couple of the young fellows. Our meetings, we may have 6, we may have 8. And we had a social a few months ago. And I found that at the social that we had a little grill going on. And I found that with simple games, backgammon, dominoes, it helps, like the brother was saying, men to talk. The dominoes game had plenty talking because you know what going on in dominoes is bragging and all of that. And I think that if we could put together a social, invite all the men from all the society churches to come, have a little domino tournament, whatever games, checkers, with one or two trophies in the mix. I think that would be an icebreaker to have more men participate. And I think once we could get them to put their foot in the door, we could have these meetings with more men coming. Our church don't have much men. Now we have a lot of men in the community that walk past every Sunday. They will come to our feeding ministry and eat the food and say thanks, but they wouldn't come to church, right? And nowadays churches is within the four walls. And unless we go out and evangelize to get some of these people in. And I find in the Market Road area, these fellas know the Bible, like, I don't know, they probably go sleep and read the Bible and come and recite all the scripture. You know, everybody got their favorite scripture, and some of them, you know, or a little for the stomach's sake, which is most of their favorite scripture, but they know the scripture, right? So if we could get them in a setting where they can have fun along with fellowship, I think we could invite more men and more men would participate. That's my 5 cents.
Thank you, Reverend Dorset. I see, I just got a million times up.
Everybody respond moment, please. Deacon Road, I am the president here at Golden Gate State Baptist Church. And please, if there's anything that we fall short on this evening, please bring it to my attention, or any other of the men members, so we can improve for the next time. One of the things that I think is causing the lack of interest of the men coming out basically is stereotyping, stigmatizing. And I will come in agreement with Reverend Dorset in saying that we need to have an event where there's no finger pointing, no one saying, oh, you see this, that, and the next. Invite the brother with open arms, where he may have a stench, where he may have something in his pocket. But I know when I became president, one of the first things I did was at a social. And the first social was by the gentleman in the green shirt, Brother Ryan's house. It was amazing how many men came up, and it wasn't a burden on Brother Ryan. All he had to do was provide the place. And some of the men from the church who are shying away because of the stereotyping, because they have one or two little issues that they are working with. They came, but they went in their corner, did what they decided what they want to do, didn't cause any ruckus, and at some point, it cut off. And they came and they socialized. The stereotyping and pointing finger and saying, oh, you can't be doing this, it's somewhat of a turn off. You would be amazed, man, if we someday travel to the United States and we go to a church and they welcome us. If they say they're having a social for the men, it's a banquet. It's a banquet. You decide if you, wherever you want to decide, but when I said it is a banquet, you have your soft drinks, you have your hard drinks, you have your wines, you have this, but they fellowshipping. Come the next morning, they are worshiping God. And no one is there to say, and I think what happened is, and I heard from some of the younger fellas, is because the tradition, everybody looking at you, when you think in men's ministry, you're coming here singing kumbaya, reading scripture, this, that, and that. We're not discussing the building of the community, the building of the church. How could I get Brother Sanders, Brother Rogers say, I believe in every church, not only in society, I believe in every church in the Bahamas. Every church in the Bahamas. We have everybody and everything we need right in the church. I see my good friend, Mr. Chisholm. I know all of his children. I know all of Mr. Chisholm's children because he went from Zarvis to South. But but he has a construction company. His son took over. But these are the connections we need to make. We need to be the Native Society's strongest network of men to go against any other society or any other church because we could bring that unity. And like you said, some fellas are timid because, man, you know, I'm still drinking and I'm still smoking. I don't come to church. Okay, you have something off the premises. And I assure you, slowly but surely, if we keep doing it, you will gain off. And one day, you will be seeing him sit right in the back of the church. My God says.
Evening to all. Clement Williams from Antioch. What I want to say, I spent 41 years in Atlanta, so sometimes that's good. I'm an executive chef, and that's was my profession, still is, just retired. But what I want to say as one of the things that we need to be real with ourselves as men, and I agree with both gentlemen. We need to have something what we call men talk. Now, Reverend Rowe discussed a lot about the ladies, and the ladies. Every time in our society, there's always something going on with the ladies. My sister.
Tea party.
Yeah, my sister, she always sending me invitation. Sister Moore saying that this going on, that going on. And she always just throw at me, she said, but I don't see nothing happening with the men. I said, well, yeah, we working on that. Even coming here this afternoon, she called me. She said, I see you on the road. I see I'm going to men's meeting. So she said, finally. And that's just my sister. And I'm glad it's my sister because she could say anything to me. But I'm sure we've been hearing the same sentiments from other persons or other women in our society of changes. So there's something called men talk, where we got to just learn how to be frank, open, and honest. And I think before we hit the streets, before we hit the road, before we do anything, we need to evaluate ourselves first. And we really need to stand up in that mirror and be honest with yourself and tell yourself, you're a hypocrite, is this, is that. You've been hiding behind the veil too long. And I think that's part of our problem. Because of our macho image, we are afraid to say who we are, realizing who we are not. And I think once the honesty in us comes out, then I think it will help us in order to propel ourselves to be that other person that God has really called all of us men to be. And we all have the same problem, all of our churches. You call men's meeting, 3 men show. You call women's meeting, 30 women show. But we got the men. So men talk. And one of the things that we're working on in our churches, forget those men who are part of the church but not coming to church. Get their phone numbers. Call them up. Say, hey man, what's going on? I miss you. I see you for a long time. What's going on? And I think this is what we need. And listen, men are hurting, but we're afraid to cry. We're afraid to hold up our hands. We're afraid to do a lot of things. And that's what's hurting us, and that's what's hurting the church, it's hurting our neighborhood, and it's hurting our society. So once we get this thing called Men Talk, where in the Gold Stream Live too, where we put it in conversations, and we have people who can call in and just ask us men questions. And we want a lot of the women to ask us questions too. Because the women will bring out the question in us that the men won't bring out in us. See, they will bring out the questions in us that the men won't bring us. And I think once we pass that facet of scale, like one time I spoke on something called the blinded Christian. Once we pass that, then we'll be able to open up ourselves and really be the people that God has called us men to be. And I think that's what I want us to start. Once we have this really big thing, society men, even if we have it in one of the St. John's churches, big stream open, 30 men come out, and people calling in. Men talk, asking us every type of questions about love, about sex, about before marriage, about this, about that, everything. That's why it's called men talk, mature conversation. And I think once we bypass that, I think that will make a lot of difference for us. And then once we get through that, then we get within ourselves as men. And I like the idea what Deacon Rose said about the men getting together. But we can't get together until we get to know who we are. And in order to get to know who we are, we need to have something called mentor. Let me get to know who, because I mean, I'm from Antioch, besides Reverend Dexter, Reverend Johnson, and I always have my brother Roland, I talk to Brother Johnson. And, and I know both Reverend Elbow, and I know Christus, he sent me 20 what's up with me, encouraging me strong in the Lord. But beyond that, I know his face really well. I know St. Peter's, and I know Brother Sam's face. Reverend June, he got ordained, so I can say I saw him that night. So, but other than that, I know everybody's face, but we still don't even know one another.
It's true.
And this is where we make it, this is where our mistake is made. And just like the brother said, we can have a carpenter in here, we can have a mechanic in here, we can have a lawyer in here, we can have a doctor in here. So why go out of our society when the Bible tells us to take care of our own? Taking care of your own just means that if I got my roof to be fixed and Brother Chisholm is the contractor, why go beyond him? Because I know just by being a brother in the church, it would cost 8,000, you may say you can take over 500 because we church members. And the Bible tells you to take care of your own. So I'm just going to say, I don't want to stay no longer because, it's lots to say and I know other gentlemen want to say, but my first thing is men talk, and after we get out of real men talk, and then we move from there. And then we go on. And I can tell you, because I've been in some men talk, invited to other churches, and the women call in and they really put a hate on us. They put a hate on us. Men see the strength in us.
All right, thank you. About peace and rights, right? I can come see you. I can come see you with that peace and rights. I have to get that right. I can come see you. You're here now.
The thing about Bahamian food is everybody got it right. But I mean, I know how to do it.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you very much, Evangelist Billy. Before we have our next speaker, please try to keep the mic to your mouth because we are live streaming. Those who may be listening in remotely, they need to hear as well. But so far, I am quite pleased with what I'm hearing. And even though I have some notes myself, I don't need to even touch my notes. But I like what I'm hearing tonight. And of course, our secretary is taking notes. So I don't want you to believe that what is being said here tonight will just go in one ear and, be through on the next. We will sit down as executive team and take all of the recommendations that are being, thrown up here tonight. Take all of those recommendations and see how best we can implement them to improve our men's ministry locally or at the unit church level and also at society level. All right, do we have any other comments? Anyone want to speak? Don't be bashful now. When I tell somebody make up their mind, I just want to say that it's interesting. For those of you who were at the St. Margaret Road meeting last month, one of the points that the speaker emphasized was the same thing about building relationships. Okay, opening up. Okay, not being afraid to make yourself vulnerable. Okay, letting people know who you are. Okay, that's what the women do. And that's why they are so successful. If you look at them sometimes, they always talking and talking and talking. But the women know how to build relationships. They know how to talk to each other. They know how to talk about themselves and probably talk about others as well. But we as men, that's something that we need still to enhance and to seek to master. But I like the recommendation I'm hearing. And one of the things that I have written down, of course, but I won't touch the one about the participation because Reverend Darcy talked about that one already, but one of the areas of improvement that I have noted here is that of improving camaraderie and fellowship. And, that seems to be the thing that most of us are touching tonight. And I have here that we probably can plan. Okay, we may not be able to do it every month, but at least once a quarter. Either what we call, or what the world call a happy hour, but we can, if you don't want to use that name, you can just call it, a camaraderie hour or our society men's hour, where we get together and meet outside of, the church setting, the formal setting. And I have here, for example, we could all agree to probably, meet at the bowling alley one Saturday. And let us just, take an hour or two and just bowl and probably split into teams and we can compete with each other like that. All right, in the bowling alley, I think they have some pool tables as well. When I used to carry the young people there when I was youth president, probably a bowling in your thing, listen, there are pool tables there. Okay, but that is one way that we can build relationships, getting together outside of settings like this. Because as Evangelist Williams said, we may know a few people, but the majority of persons in here, I still don't know you as well as I should, and likewise, you still don't know me as well as you should. All you know is that I'm Reverend Johnson, and I'm now the new men's president for the men's, Fellowship for the Society. Okay, so I, going bowling, and, breaking into teams, and competing, listen, that's a lot of fun. Okay? Or, as Reverend Dawson mentioned about the grill out, we can probably do that on the park. Or, like Reverend Rhodes said, Deacon Rhodes said, meet at one of our homes. Some of us may have the home and the property at the back or the front big enough to accommodate a good 40, 50, 60 men. Let's do that. And when we get in an environment like that, bring some games along. All right? Who don't know how to play backgammon, or who know how to play checkers or dominoes, you learn. Okay? And I even mentioned to our vice president one time, our first vice president, that probably one of these times we need to have our own Super Bowl, and party. Where we find a church with probably a big enough schoolroom, like in here, we come together as men. And then also, probably even, make some money while you're doing it to help put in the treasury to help the men's ministry.
Yes, sir.
$5 entrance fee. Okay? There are many things we can do, but we just need to think out of the box. And I like the point that Deacon Rowe made too about not being judgmental. And I think that is a reason why a lot of men don't want to be a part, because they feel once they come among men like us who are, church bound, or, we will judge them. But don't forget, Jesus was the friend of sinners. In fact, a lot of the religious people criticize him because he hung up with the common folks. And even those who had quote unquote shady reputations. And when you can make men, particularly men from the community who may not be, the way we are, when we can make them feel, listen, that they can come in an environment and they don't have to feel as if they're being judged, you'll be surprised what can happen. Yes, and we can pray for them, And God in time will work the work that only He can do in their lives. But in the meantime, we ought to be open and accepting to them. Now, I don't want to take too much of time because I can talk. So I'm going to hand the mic back to Deacon Rowe. And if anyone else wants to share, please, we have my secretary of recording.
Good evening, brothers. Let's piggyback on Brother Sanders, Leroy Sanders from Golden Gate Native. The brother from Antioch, I think the gentleman what he said of mentor. I believe that if not all of us, most of us have issues, family issues, with sons and daughters in our homes. Have problems out there, okay? And if I share my problem with you, you'll be able to share your problem with me, and I will find where you dealt with it, and to teach me how to deal with my family situation, my son problem, or my daughter problem. You understand what I'm saying? And it's very good that you brought it up. So these mentors are very good in the future, that we get this on the ground, and you always have like every quarter, you know, or every 3-4 months, whatever. I think it's a good idea that you brought up, that we could go ahead and do something like that. It's very good. And how do you brought that up?
We have about 5 more minutes.
You know, one of the things that you may not believe that bring our men together is their heritage. We have a rivalry, a loving rivalry going on right now. Whenever the men get together, Cat Island and Andros. But that's how we get them out and they get to talking. They could speak up. You know who come from Cat Island? You know who come? But and just like what President said, that get things going. Now, I can say this and I get in trouble, but I can stand on my own 2 feet and take trouble. I'm just up wondering now, can I get to catch up,
Good evening, Reverend Langston Zimmerman from St. James. I'm the president of the Finance Ministry, also at St. James. Took over a couple of years ago from Reverend William Heaven. And Man's Ministry is a special calling of men, because when I started out, there were a number of activities I did to involve the men of St. James. We had, as was discussed, we had some home visits, which were very good. Did little dominoes, did a devotional, and you get some men who wouldn't normally come out to the meeting. But as I was preparing to come here, and I had to drop something home and came here, I have two younger sons. I have a 17-year-old and I have a 22-year-old. And as I was coming out, and my mind said, you know, we look at Man's Ministry just for the older men, but Man's Ministry is for all men.
Yes, sir.
And I know each and every one of us, and you may have a son who you can invite to come out to be a part of this meeting. And I told my son, I said, well, on the next meeting, and even at our man's meeting, he's a part, I said, I'm going to invite him to come out. And I think that's a way how we can get more men to come out. We have men in our own homes
Yes, sir.
that we could bring out to meetings. And the next thing is that men's directory. It was something that was thought of a little while back. The WhatsApp group is a good way of knowing who some of the men are. But now we can put that with a form or something that lists what your profession is, where you work, and that's the way how we could use within ourselves to get information out. And like you said, a lot of places don't know what the professions are of many of us. But on that form, we can look at that as a directory, even if it's allowed. That's something you can have a little small directory book. So you're looking at, let me look into society, let me look in my church first, and then go up. And that's the way how we can help to aid in. And then the last thing is in regards to trying to facilitate camaraderie amongst the men. The good book says, "He who wants friends must first show himself friendly."
Yes.
So we got to meet. I think I know probably everybody in here, or everybody may know me. And so it takes for us not just to say we want friends, but we have to first show that we are friendly by how we treat one another. Now, I work at the National Insurance Board. And if anybody comes to the National Insurance Board and I see your face and I know y'all ask you, hey, you getting straight? Everything all right? You need some assistance? And that's how we show that we are friendly, by assisting one another, wherever it may be. And that's how you build up camaraderie and friendship. And the last thing is, when I look at the Bible, that's how Jesus would have dealt with one another, you know.
Yes, sir.
When he went and called Zacchaeus out that sycamore tree, and he went to his house, he said, "Today I'm going to your house."
Yes.
Now that's a friend, that's a companion. Now we don't know what Jesus said to him inside that house. But whatever he said to him, he had to change. And the purpose of man's ministry, socializing is good, but the purpose is we gotta try and help souls come to know who Jesus Christ is.
Yes, sir.
He's the only one who can save. Socializing is good, fine and good, that's the way to get them in. But the purpose is to try to get souls.
Yes, sir.
Right, thank you.
We have time for one more.
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody.
Who are you?
Yeah, I'm gonna say that. I'm used to that, yeah. Hey, I'm Mr. Arthur Hines, going to the Bahamas Electricity Corporation for 33 years, so I'm retired from there. And true that he mentioned National Insurance, I do need to see somebody with National Insurance. I must admit that. So very glad that you are here, you mentioned that. The other thing is that, some of us may have more than others, but the plan is we can't think we different or better than others, because sometimes if you're in a church, and I see some people, they come, they speak to the one way on the side of you, and they will speak to you, so we can't, not because we have more than others, we think different. So I just want to say that people know we gotta be one, like you say, if we can be one, let's be one. Let's be together and be one. That's it.
Okay, thank you very much. Go ahead. President, I just want to, gentlemen, I am a bit overwhelmed right now. Our latest member joining Holy St. Baptist Church, he took a major sacrifice. He has a prosthetic leg. I went to him to church, and this is what we call in regional and asked him. I know you may not be comfortable driving tonight, and I am too surprised that our brother Wallace, standing sitting in the back there, made it out tonight. To me, that speaks volume. It speaks volume. And I pray, I gonna get his number to ensure that when he leaves here, he reaches home safely.
Okay, and even better still, by the time you're taking road, in situations like that, you would say to him, "Listen, I'll come pick you up." To ensure that, particularly at night, he doesn't have to deal with the challenge of, having to navigate the streets, with this situation. So we thank God for your presence, sir, and your sacrifice to be here tonight. For those who just came in, we are just about wrapping up the segment. We had a very lively discussion on how to improve our men's ministry. And as I said earlier, I am encouraged by the many suggestions that were thrown out tonight. And as I indicated, our secretary is here and he is taking notes. And when we get together in our next planning meeting, members of the executive team, we will be looking at all of those and seeing how best we could implement them with a view to improving men's ministry at the unit church level and also at the society level. So God bless you. I did not have to go through all of my notes tonight, but I just beckoned, we can roll to look at my notes. And basically, all that I had intended to speak on were touched tonight. And I say that because when he got up to speak, he was talking about, trying to get the younger men in our society interested. And that's my second point. My first point that I have some bullet points under is how to improve attendance and participation. The second is how to generate the interest of our younger men. And Reverend Lexton gave a very compelling comments with respect to that. And then the third is how to improve camaraderie and fellowship. I've already spoken on that, and some of you touched that already. And then improving ownership. How to improve the sense of ownership, a buy-in of men. That's important. So thank you all once again. I was getting late, and we set up the business segment to get into. I don't want to keep you here too late, and everybody know I'm a long-winded person. So I need to cut and go into the next session, but we bless the Lord for the presence of Reverend Dr. Anthony J. Carroll, who just walked in. And also Reverend Dwayne Ramin from St. James. God bless you, gentlemen. Please sign the register. We have a register going around. And as I indicated, those whose telephone numbers are not yet a part of the Society Men's group chat, we will put them in. Okay, so that when we send a notification or send out anything with respect to meetings or what we intend to do, you would be notified. So thank you again for all of your comments, and it's good to see you, Brother Chisholm, amen, from Acklands, right? Yeah. Okay, all right, good. When I went to Acklands on 2 or 3 occasions in the past, I ran into him and we had a good talk, so that's someone I know. Okay, God bless. All right, at this time, we're going into our business segment. And at this time, we're going to invite Reverend Lexton, someone to read our minutes from our previous meeting held August 29th, 2022. Reverend Lexton.
Good evening once again. The meeting of the St. John Society Men's Ministry was held at the Margaret Road Native Baptist Church. It began at 7 p.m. by our president, Reverend Jerome Johnson. There were 21 men in attendance. The devotional period was led by the St. Margaret Road Native Baptist Church men. At that meeting, we had a presentation on the role and responsibility of men in the kingdom that was given by Reverend Keith Miller, who gave us a vibrant presentation on the subject matter and gave us much food for thought. This presentation was recorded and subsequently sent to Society Men's Ministry WhatsApp group, so you can view that there. And an appreciation, Reverend Miller was presented with a fruit basket and a bottle of apple cider on behalf of the Society Men's Ministry by yours truly. In our business segment, the minutes of our July meeting were not read. The president had advised, for the sake of time, the minutes will be provided to the presidents and executives who can provide the same on request to the men of their respective groups. At this meeting, we also had remarks by our past president, Reverend Reginald Ferguson, who thanked the members who served with him during his administration. Our next meeting was listed as scheduled for today at Golden Gates. We collected dues in the amount of $162.60, and there was no other business. Closing song was Bind Us Together, and the closing prayer was given by our chaplain, Deacon Janice Dean. Meeting adjourned at 8:30 p.m. President to resume again on this evening. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
At this time, can we have someone to move that the minutes be accepted as read and someone to second the motion if there are no corrections or amendments to what you've heard? Can we have someone to move that the minutes? Okay. Let the record reflect that Reverend Pritchard moved that the minutes be accepted as read. And it was seconded by our chaplain, Deacon Janice Dean. Okay, the next item under the business section is an update from our quarterly executive meeting held September 20th, 2022. And I'm just going to read a synopsis of some of the key areas that we discussed in our meeting, which was held by Zoom. And the first item that we dealt with was that of an update on fundraising plans. Our fundraising committee is chaired by Reverend Dr. Jerome Delabo, our first vice president, and he and his team met prior to the meeting, and they put forward two major fundraiser activity or event that they are planning. And the first is that of a walkathon, and they are looking at doing the walkathon for late October or early November. And as a fundraiser, the intent is to have as many persons from each church within a society in New Providence register for a nominal fee to participate in the walkathon or the fun run walk. It's a walk, not a run, right? Okay. And according to our chairperson for the committee, he indicated that the distance will be, it will not be too long. I think he said about 1.5 to 2 miles or thereabout. You're given as the first one, but the intent is to have this done on an annual basis as one way of raising funds to fund the activities of the Society Men's Ministry. So listen out for that, and I'm hoping that the fundraising committee is able to pull it off. Okay, with God, all things are possible. So you'll be hearing from us with that, and we are looking at probably, just to garner enough funds, have it as a competition among society churches, the one who can register the most persons for the walk would get some sort of prize. But stay tuned. And then the second event is a family fun day being looked at for early next year, 2023, where each men's ministry in the unit church would probably have a stall and be responsible for providing a particular food item or drink for a reasonable price. Again, most or all of the proceeds would go towards Society Men's Ministry. And then the second event, the second item that we looked at during that meeting is that the purchase of t-shirts. This was something that was discussed for some time, even under the prior, former men's president, Reverend Dr. Reginald Ferguson. But after some discussion, it was agreed that we should probably look at purchasing golf shirts as opposed to t-shirts because it gives a more professional appearance, more presentable appearance when we have to represent our society men at any event. So it was agreed that we would look at purchasing golf shirts and Evangelist Prophet Clem Williams from Antioch volunteered to lead the charge in that respect. So at this time, he has some information that he's going to share with us. So I'm going to ask him to come quickly and just update us on what he has found thus far.
Good evening once again. Well, you know how I feel now. My pastor's in the house. You seem to say someone from Antioch was here. But as far as the shade is concerned, I sent Reverend Jerome a photo of the T-shade and some information price-wise that the T-shade is really a nice pullover one. And it's a shade that you can wear in church, and it has the straight tail, so even if you don't want to put it in your pants, some, that's like me, we got a little stomach and before I look the pants. But it's $21.99 a piece. If you get 6 or more, it's $17.99. And then for the emblem or the symbol, whatever we come up with, and the wording of our team for this year, to have that embroidered on the shade. There's a one-time fee of $65 that they call a digital fee, where you have to pay that because they have to put that in their system or in their machinery, and that would be there. So anytime you come back, that's already there. So that's a one-time fee of $65 that you have to pay for that. And she said it's difficult for her to give me a price, but she said it would vary from $8 to $32 per shade, provided we get more than 6. I told her definitely it will be more than 6. I said anywhere from 20 to 50. That's the number I gave her, anywhere from 20 to 50. So the more shades we get, the cheaper the price. But to put on the embroidery and the wording and everything, she said she has to see that because she needs to know the size of the embroidery and all that it was required. But she said because of the amount that I told her, it could go for as little as $8 and as much as $32 per shade. So with the shade right now, it's $21.99 for one, $17.99 if it's 6 or more. And it's a one-time fee of $65 that's called digital and printing that they have to be put in their mechanical thing, whatever that's all about. And then once we come up and then we bring in the embroidery and the wording theme, it can go from $8 up to $32. So that's what we're looking at. And it takes 3 to 4 weeks. 3 to 4 weeks. The color doesn't matter. Whatever color you want, we want can be provided. So she asked me how soon. I told her I'm going to a meeting tonight, and we will get back hopefully within a couple of weeks' time. I didn't want to tell her a specific time. I told her give us a couple of weeks. We have to sort out some things.
All right, thank you. Any questions for Evangelist Brother Williams before he takes the seat? All right, the only thing I want to add is that
what we need to do now is decide on the color, because we don't want somebody in a yellow, somebody in a burgundy, somebody in a brown or white. We need to decide on a color, okay? And once that is done, I think we can move forward with placing those orders. Also, he mentioned the embroidery or the logo. We have a logo for Society Men's Ministry, and the intention is to have the logo on the shirt, on the front part of the shirt. I think for the men it's usually on the left side, on the left side. And then depending on the cost, if the cost is reasonable, probably on the back have the theme, our Society Men's theme, and just referencing the scripture text, the theme text, which is Psalms 133 and verse 1. Behold, how good and how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity. Okay, so that's what we're looking at. That leads us to the next point, which is the logo for the Society Men's Ministry. Sometime back, I had asked Deacon Rowe to look at something for me, which he did, and then he came back and he asked me if we have a logo. I told him, as far as I'm aware, we don't. And he said, well, if I didn't mind, he can look at designing one or have one designed for us to use. And I told him, fine, go ahead, put something together, I'll have a look at it. But at some point, we will probably need to get our bishop's blessing for that. So he did that, and in our meeting of the 20th, I shared the logo with those who were on the Zoom call, and this is what the logo looks like. You can pass it around. It always looked like a crest or a seal. Society Men's Ministry, St. John Society Men's Ministry. Yeah, just pass it around quickly. And the executive team members who were on the call all liked the logo, and I had the task of asking, seeking the bishop's approval. And he came back, I sent it to him electronically and told him what it was and what the intent was, subject to his approval. And he came back with some positive comments. He did not say directly that he approved it, but based on his comments, I interpret that to mean that we have his blessing. Okay? So that is the intent, to use that on our shirts and probably on documents like reports, if we have a report to present to the bishop, or even on letters if we're sending letters out from the Society Men's Ministry. Okay? So that's what the logo looks like. The next item, if there are no questions with respect to what I just said, the next item that we discussed during the meeting was that of our mentorship program. As was indicated, our immediate past president, Reverend Dr. Reginald Ferguson, while he was president, he put together a document proposing how we can go about implementing a mentoring or mentorship program for boys within our Native Baptist Society. Unfortunately, he was not able to implement that prior to his retirement. And after he retired and he found out that I was appointed to replace him, he contacted me and asked me if I did not mind having a look at it and see if there's anything or any part of it that we can use. So I told him, I promised him I would do that. And the original document given to me was retyped, reformatted, put in a more readable form, and almost formatted as though it is a manual. It was then distributed to all of our vice presidents and our secretary, and the intent is for us to get together sometime during the month of October, review the document, and see if there's anything we need to change and to flesh out how best we could roll out or implement the program in our society, either first as a pilot program, probably just one or two churches, or across the board. Prior to doing that, the intent is to, again, to seek our bishop's approval, which we have in principle because upon my being appointed, I got together with the executive team members and we put together a strategy document which was given to the bishop and general superintendent for review in case he had any objections to anything that was in there or he wanted to make any changes. And he basically reviewed it and said he had no difficulty with what was in it. And in that document was mentioned the mentorship program. So what we need to do now is to just look at it in detail and see, as I said, if we need to change anything and how best we can implement it as something in our society. Once we are comfortable as executive members with the document, then the intent is to get the superintendent's approval to do a presentation at the executive, the society's ministerial council level. And the whole idea of that is to seek to get the buy-in of the pastors before we, make any move in terms of trying to implement anything, because they may have some concerns that we would need to look at and see how best we can address those concerns before we even attempt to roll it out. So that is the idea. Once we would have cleared the executive committee of the society or the ministerial council, then you'll be hearing from us as members of the society men's group in terms of how we're going to move forward with that. And then another thing that we looked at was recognition of others at our Society Men's Ministry Anniversary, which is usually held the third Friday in the month of March each year. The last one we had was in March of 2019, and we did not have an anniversary concert since due to COVID. Life lasts, God's willing. The Lord will come. We intend to resume with our anniversary concert in 2023, March of 2023. And we plan to honor someone, and one individual, but it was suggested that we may want to look at going forward, honoring additional men each year. So we are working on that. So that's something that you would see in future going forward. And then finally, for our November and October-November meetings, we discussed potential speakers. We were able to agree on a speaker for the October meeting in the person of Mr. Timothy David Blair. He is a member of Bahamas Faith Ministries. He is the CEO of a consultancy company, which I believe is owned by him. He, according to his profile, was mentored by the late Dr. Miles Monroe, and he is also a prolific presenter or speaker on leadership. So all goes well, and according to plan for the month of October, we will have Mr. Timothy David Blair as our speaker, and the topic or the theme for that evening is the single man, God's expectations. And that is one of the things that we are looking at. I know all of us here are married or past that stage, but we thought that to garner interest of our younger men in society, some of the topics that we would seek to address, either by persons internally or externally, would capture our or would be applicable to some of our single men in society. So please do not stay home because you are married. Come out and encourage your sons who may be single, your young men in your church may be single, or about to, tie a knot or what have you. Come out and let's hear what our speaker has to say as God has laid on his heart. The single male or the single man, what is God's expectation? Okay, that's the topic. We did not agree on a speaker for the month of November because I think we were running out of time. We were faced with some technical challenges trying to keep the Zoom call-ons, and we concluded without agreeing that. So if you have someone in mind you would like to suggest to myself, you can let me know. It would be discussed among the senior members of the executive team, and we'll make a decision on it. God bless. That is the update. Are there any questions from our Zoom meeting on the 20th of this month? Are there any questions? If not, we're going to invite our treasurer Reverend Pritchard to collect our dues very quickly, and then we're gonna sing our closing chorus, bind us together, and then we're gonna have our chaplain, Deacon Brother Dane, to give us our closing prayer. And for those who are not aware, those who are working, we are asking you to give us $10 for dues, okay? And those who are not, $5. But if you want to give us 10, that's fine. And those who are working, if you want to give us 20, that's fine. Okay? And for those who can't afford any of that, whatever you have, we would appreciate it. If it's $1, if it's 50 cents, if it's 25 cents, don't feel bad. We would welcome that as your contribution to the dues. Also, while Richard is lifting our dues, I was reminded to mention that those of you, I'm sure will be aware that we also have a society men's choir that is led and directed by Reverend Leroy Higgins. I want to say Ferguson. Reverend Leroy Higgins. We will be commencing practice at some point leading up to our anniversary date. So those of you who have a voice, or as Reverend Dr. Carroll would say, can hold a tune or a note, you are welcome to be a part of the choir. And use your talent for the Lord in helping us to make our anniversary in March a smashing success. If there are are there any other business? Any other issue anyone would like to raise at this time? If not, let us all stand, please. Thank you once again for coming, for your presence, for your sacrifice. And we are expecting great things. Amen? Come on, y'all, let's sound like y'all convinced. We are expecting great things as men. Amen. At this time, let's sing our closing hymn, our closing chorus, Bind It Together. That's the one we sing, right? Okay. All right. Bind us together, Lord, bind us together with cords that cannot be broken. Bind us together, Lord, bind us together, Lord, bind us together with love. There is only one God. There is only one King. There is only one body. That is why we sing. Oh, bind us together, Lord, bind us together with cords that cannot be broken. Bind us together, Lord, bind us together
Father, we thank you, Lord, for the beat of this heart tonight. Father, I pray, Lord, you have continue to hope and lift up your name, yes, early made. Father, help us, Lord, as we hope in this day. Help us, Lord, to remain steadfast and true in lifting your name up. Father, we thank you for our president, our mayor's fellowship. We thank you, Lord, help us, Lord, to continue to stand in the gap.
Thank you, Lord.
We give you praise, we give you thanks. Honor and glory. In Jesus' holy and mighty name, I pray.
Okay, gentlemen, we just want to say thank you again to Pastor Hinsey and to Deacon Roll and the men's ministry here at Golden Gate for hosting this meeting. And may God bless them. And they have also provided light refreshments, so please don't just rush out. If you were here and you heard about Rogers, his devotional talk, that's what he said. Don't just rush out. All right? Let us go to the back, grab something, say hi to somebody, then we can make our exit. God bless you.
Good evening. I'm okay.